All right, what's poppin'? You already know what time it is. It's time for some business. It's your boy Big Rich Mob Stories. Really quick. Last night we put up a video about Vincent Bruno, and I said that he was disgracia because I thought he was a rat. I was corrected by one of the listeners. Of course, me and Shattered spoke on it, the way the article was written. Anyway, the mistake was mine. He is not a rat. He's actually doing a 12-year bid. The only mistake he made here was being foolish enough to let the feds know what his grandmother looks like. Very foolish, very wrong. But he is not a rat, and I take that back. That is a retraction on our part, or my part. I made a mistake. But you already know what time it is. Blow some smoke in the atmosphere. Let me know what you're smoking on. I got some really, really good OG Kush with some live resin. You already know. Time for mob stories. Let's get down to business. It's a garden variety murder and robbery, but why is it in federal court? Anthony Pandrella may be a Gambino associate, and he may have shot an aging mob associate named Vincent Zito to death and gloomed four expensive watches after he did it. And maybe he also stole $750,000 from Zito, Vincent Zito, that is, and that's the picture on the screen, at some point before he killed them. But that's no reason to make a federal case out of it, says his lawyer. In two recent filings, including one last week, Pandrella's attorney, James Frocero, argues that there's no legal reason why his client should be facing murder and robbery charges in Brooklyn federal court. Frocero insists the FBI agents and prosecutors in the Brooklyn U.S. Attorney's Office used a legal fiction to lodge federal murder and robbery charges against Pandrella for the October 26, 2018 execution slaying of the 78-year-old Lucchese family loan shark. Back in March, the feds charged Pandrella with Zito's murder. They based their case on court approval search warrants to obtain his DNA on the trigger of the murder weapon. They also obtained records of the scores of phone calls he made to Gambino capo George Lombardozzi after the killing, including one just over an hour after the murder and robbery in Zito's Sheephead Bay, Brooklyn home. But while prosecutors cited Pandrella's ties going back to 2002 to Lombardozzi and powerful capo Daniel Marino in order to seek his detention as a danger to the community, they did not hit him with racketeering charges, the usual route the feds take to get mob crimes under their jurisdiction. Instead, they got a murder indictment under the 1946 Hobbs Anti-Racketeering Act, which allow the feds to prosecute state crimes in federal court if they have a minimal effect on interstate commerce. Frocaro asserts that the allegation that the 59-year-old Pandrella, a man with no criminal record or history of violence, killed his close friend over 30 years and robbed them is a matter for trial on state murder and robbery charges in Brooklyn Supreme Court, not federal court. The lawyer has asked Judge Margot Brody to suppress evidence the government obtained from two search warrants and to dismiss the federal indictment against his client. He argues that the government has attempted to mask its lack of jurisdictional competence by alleging with a wink that the murder and robbery somehow interfered with interstate commerce. See, once you cross interstate lines, it becomes a federal crime. It does not work, Frocaro wrote. The problem is this case is twofold. First of all, there's virtually no evidence that Zito's execution-style murder occurred in the throes of a robbery. Instead, the government theorizes that the killer pocketed a few pieces from Zito's personal collection of watches before he left the crime. In the government's initial application for a search warrant in November of last year, FBI agent Paul Tambrino alleged that the stolen watches were Zito's and were profits from his loan sharking business. In a second application a few weeks later, the agent wrote that the stolen watches were collateral that a loan shark customer had given Zito. Under either scenario, the lawyer argues the alleged murder and robbery by his client are both state law crimes and not crimes that can be federally prosecuted under the Hobbs Act because the government has failed to establish that a nexus to interstate commerce exists. Yeah, how is his murder causing interstate traffic to be affected? How is that exactly? Frocaro wrote that stealing expensive foreign-made watches from Zito was a far cry from an appeals court ruling that upheld the conviction of a participant in of the armed robbery of a jewelry store that was in the business of selling foreign watches. In contrast to the victim in that case, the lawyer wrote, Zito was no jeweler. Prosecutors Kristen Mace and Philip Pilmar countered that the Second Circuit Court of Appeals in Manhattan has ruled that the government has only a minimal burden of proving a connection to the interstate commerce and, in fact, only has to show the possibility or potential of an effect on interstate commerce. The interstate commerce connection was made in the Pandrella case, the prosecutors wrote, because at the time of his death, Zito was running an illegal loan sharking business with both borrowers in New York and New Jersey. And these feds are smoking crack. Judge Brody will hear oral arguments on the issue next week. Then she'll decide whether the case proceeds to trial before her in April, as currently scheduled, or whether it belongs in state court. Gee, these feds are so desperate to make these cases, right? They must be bored. There's nothing to do. You got nothing to do? There's not enough crime going on. Chicago isn't dying. There isn't dirty water in Michigan, you fucks. You ain't got better things to do with your power, you fucks. All right, first of all, salute to the whole team. You know how we get down. I need everybody to like the story, comment, share, like the story. Make sure your notifications are on so you can get all alerts from this platform. You know how we do. Big Rich will be out of pocket tomorrow, so the next story will be Monday night. All right, everybody have a great evening. And